This is my brand new 2025 Knolly Fugitive 140. This is one of the few truly do-it-all bikes, and the 140 stands for 140 mil travel in the rear. Now, that's probably a little bit shorter rear travel than you're used to seeing me ride, but let's go through that and a couple of the parts I've chosen for this build. Now, let's start with the frame. This is the Fugitive 140. It's a full 29er, and it comes in two travel options, the 140 mil and the 125 mil. So you can spec basically just a different shock and get two different travels in the rear. Now, if you're familiar with the channel, you're probably familiar with Knolly, but if you're not, Knolly is a Canadian brand that makes high quality aluminum frames. And if you have been watching the channel for a long time, you know that I had a lot of problems with bikes, well, breaking all the time. And that's when I joined up with Knolly, and things have been great ever since. I really haven't had any problems with the frames. They of course now support the channel, so I'm a bit biased, but it's a great partnership for me because, well, I break a lot of frames, they have frames that don't break. We mesh well together. Now, if you remember, I think it was last year, maybe in the year before, I built up a hardtail, and I really like hardtails. I come from a BMX background. Hardtails are just fun. They're kind of not gimmicky, but there's something about them that's just, it's different. It's a different kind of ride. And if you've also been watching the channel, you know that I've hurt my back recently, and so hardtails probably aren't the best for that. So, as I've gotten better, I decided, okay, we're gonna take apart the hardtail, put it aside for now. We're gonna say goodbye to the hardtail. And for climbing and kind of my fun, get in shape bike, I've decided to go with the Fugitive 140. I built this bike up focused on climbing and descending, trying to get sort of the best of both worlds. Now, a lot of brands might say they have do-it-all bikes, but that depends on where you live and maybe how big you are, how hard you are. Because if, say, me as a rider, I was breaking a lot of the enduro bikes, then a lighter version of that bike surely won't be stronger. So a do-it-all bike to me really means that I can ride all the same trails that I would ride, but maybe with something focused a little more on climbing, but I can still ride aggressively. For shock, I'm running the Bomber Air. This is the first time I've ever used this shock, and I haven't had a chance to really get out on this bike yet. But so far, pedaling around in the parking lot feels very nice, and I'm excited to get on an air shock again. I'm also stoked that Ride Wrap is now supporting the channel. I've been a big fan of Ride Wrap for a long time. I've done the gloss wrap on the frame and a matte wrap on the fork. And when you have a bike like Knolly, where you've got these great paint jobs and you have a bike that lasts a long time, it's just great to have a way to keep your bike looking new and feeling new for even longer. So yeah, if you want to keep your bike in great condition and your fork, check out Ride Wrap. But okay, let's move to the front of the bike and check out some of those parts. Okay, starting way over here in the front of the bike, we're running the Continental Crypt Total. This is the DH casing in the super soft compound, I think they call it. I've never tried these tires before. Like I said, I haven't ridden this bike yet, but so far they seem good. They seated well and they feel nice and they look great. So I'm excited to go try these tires. I've heard a lot of good things about them. And of course, supporting the channel again this year is Noble wheels, and I'm running the Noble TR37s. They were reasonably updated, so now they have this cool sine wave pattern, which just allowed them to tune the ride feel even more, so you can get that vertical compliance and that lateral stiffness. And yeah, they've been great wheels, and just like when it comes to a strong, reliable frame, I bash wheels, I break wheels a lot, and so Noble wheels have been amazing. And if anything ever does happen, Noble wheels has lifetime warranty. This year, of course, I've gone with the Onyx Vesper. Usually I go with the Onyx Classics, but I want to, you know what? I always get the Classics. We're gonna try out the Vespers. They're a little lighter, and yeah, I just love that silent engagement. Now, of course, I also have an Onyx front hub. And of course, I got it in silver to match sort of the blue-silver aesthetic thing I got going on. Now for a fork, I'm running the Marzocchi, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Bomber Z1, and I have it set to 160 mil. Moving down to the rotor, I'm running a 200 mil HS2. I usually go with 220s in the front, but this is supposed to be, I'm supposed to take it easy on this bike, so we sized down the rotor to 200 mil. For a front brake, I'm running the Lewis LHP Plus. These are a new brake set from Lewis. And of course, ignoring all the controversy and stuff, if you want to learn about Lewis, Dale has made an amazing video that goes through all that stuff. I'm going to review them as well. But so far, yeah, they look great and they feel great out in the parking lot. But yeah, expect to see a video about these brakes later on. And of course, I'm running another 5-dev titanium stem. This time I decided to go with 40 mil. I've tried their shortest stem, which I think is 32 mil, and I've tried their longer stem, which is 50 mil, which has been great. But this year I decided, okay, what if we try them in the middle? We'll try a 40 mil stem. And again, so far in the parking lot, it feels great. And I think it's a nice balance between a short stem and a 50 mil stem. And also the titanium looks sick and matches this whole bike so well. In that stem, of course, is the 1UP carbon bars. I own a lot of 1UP carbon bars, and I usually go with the lower rise ones, which is I think 20 mil, but this is the 35 mil rise. Just trying out a higher front end. So adding some more spacers underneath the stem and also trying a higher rise bar. For grips, I've got these deity grips. I always get these deity grips. I can't remember what they're called, but I found a grip I like and I've just decided to stick with it. I've got the Tellus dropper lever remote that came with my hardtail that I switched over, and I've got a SLX shifter that I found in my toolbox. But okay, let's move to the back of the bike and check out some more parts. Now moving towards the rear of the bike, I've got a 1UP dropper. This is a 210 and it's the V3 dropper. The V3 dropper has been noticeably better than the V2 dropper. And then yeah, just running the SDG seat that came with my hardtail because yeah, it seemed fine. But when it comes to the seat, what's really interesting is underneath the seat. This is the Anomaly switch grade. And what this does is allow you to tilt your seat either backwards or forwards. So that way, if you're on a very steep climb like we have here in BC and you're tilted way up, the seat isn't pushing against your groin super hard. So what you can do is tilt the seat down so that this forms a nice supportive seat that fits the way you pedal up a very steep hill a lot better. And I'm super excited to go and try this out on some steep climbs because yeah, just trying it around here, it just makes climbing that much more comfortable. Of course, running a TR37 wheel in the rear as well, attached to a Onyx Vesper hub. That was the Vesper hub I talked about in the front there. Now, the thing about these Vesper hubs and the classic hubs too, well, the Onyx hubs in general, is that they have instant engagement. So you go to pedal and the pedals are just engaged. There's no slack to hit some sort of ratchet, and they're silent. Then when you have a quiet hub too and you're riding down the trail, it's just nice to just hear just that trail bike noise, tires on the ground, you know what I'm talking about. Running the Cryptotal rear tire, this time in the Enduro casing in, I guess, just the soft compound. Now I wish I would have done the Enduro casing in front and rear, but I wanted super soft for the front. And super soft wins out over lighter casing. So I think they are coming out with an Enduro casing in the super soft. So eventually if I like these tires, I'll do both Enduro casings, say if I put them on the Chilcotin or something like that. But yeah, for now, DH casing in the front, Enduro casing in the rear. Kind of funny, but it is what it is. And to keep this build light, I've got the 5Dev Enduro pedals. These pedals are crazy light if you've never felt them before. They're thin, grippy, and yeah, they look great. Those pedals are attached to the R-Spec cranks. This time I went with a 175 mil crank length. I've tried shorter cranks and they do feel good, especially descending, but I know people say you can't tell the difference when you're pedaling, like, oh, if it's 10 mil, 15 mil shorter, you're still gonna put out the same power. But I swear I've been cranking up the hill with my 160 mil cranks and it's a steep hill, and I swear I just can't put the same amount of torque down. So we've gone back to 170 mil crank length. You know, I'm pretty tall. I'm 6 feet without shoes, maybe 6'1" with 510s on. So reasonably tall, and yeah, I think 175 fits me well. And attached to those cranks is the 30-tooth oval chainring. Oval chainrings are another one of those bike, is it a gadget? Bike, you know, accessories, extras, whatever it might be, where I've really grown to love them. But yeah, the oval chainring just smooths out your pedal stroke so that it's harder when you can put down more power and it's easier when you're kind of in that awkward spot. And moving to the back, I've got an SLX shifter, but I've got an XT cassette and an XT derailleur. I do like the new transmission, and I would put it on more bikes if it had an adjustable clutch. That's the one thing the XT has that I can't live without it. Again, for a bike to be really quiet, you gotta have the adjustable clutch. My only real complaint about the XT is that it is quite fragile, and I'm a bit of a basher, and I will definitely hit this derailleur in the first 2 rides, and hopefully not break it or bend it. And of course, running the Noble TR37 in the rear as well. Like I said, carbon wheels have been just so low maintenance for me. It's just totally worth it if you're an aggressive hard rider. Between just the fact that they seem more resilient than aluminum wheels, that combined with the lifetime warranty just makes a ton of sense. Then for the rear brake, I'm again running the Lewis LHP Plus, which we'll review soon enough. And I've got a 180 mil HS2 rotor. Decided if I'm going to size down in the front, may as well size down in the rear. Brakes are so powerful now that, yeah, you can run pretty small rotors and still lock up the rear wheel extremely easily. And so that's it. This is my new Fugitive 140, and hopefully the next video you see is me riding it. Now, if I missed anything or you have any questions about the bike, just leave them down in the comments and I'll try to make sure I answer them all. But I think that's it, and I'll see you guys in the next one.